Hey, hey, welcome everybody to another collab chat with Miss Lily Ma, who's having a birthday today. Happy
It's my
birthday to
birthday.
you. That's amazing. So she was just sharing with me before we got on the live here that that it's like a special birthday for her. Tell us why.
I'm 33 today, so I'm really excited about that. And the number three, for some reason, has a really special place in my heart. I don't know why. I love things in three. Maybe it
Yeah.
has something to do with when I was a kid. Like I always everything to do with three. Like even all my decor at home, I pile them in threes. I'll have like three candles, three this, three that. I don't know.
I was
Three
just gonna say
pictures.
three is like the magic, like decorating number. Like I feel like if things look good in threes, I used to work in retail when I first got to college, and like more merchandising, making the store look all pretty. That's the key. You got to put things in threes or fives, odd numbers
Yes,
in
odd
general.
numbers.
Yeah,
For sure, for sure. I love it. So it's my birthday. I'm
odd numbers
excited.
and odd girl, and three is kind of like a magical. It's like your special birthday.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool. So happy birthday, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here on my birthday.
I love it. You got all kinds of energy. You are rocking and rolling. It's so great.
Yeah.
I might have something to do with you. Like, did you have any birthday cake yet this morning?
No, I didn't. So for the guys watching, I was just sharing with Jen. I usually sit down when I do my live interviews. I actually sit down in general when I do work. I don't stand. So today I'm trying something new. I'm actually standing right now to see if it actually changes my energy level. And so far, it seems like it's working.
Yeah, definitely it's working.
Mhm.
I think that's great.
Just
So
have to make sure I stand still, though. That's the only thing.
I'm the same way. Like some of my videos when I record them, I'm standing and I'll move into the camera and then I'll move back, and it's just kind of funny what I do. Like I see myself doing it a lot. Like
Yeah.
I actually had someone comment like, "You're kind of making me dizzy."
I know. That's why I need to make sure that Evan gave me a suggestion. He's like, you have to isolate your body. You have to make sure your feet are planted and you're just moving your hands. You don't move too much. It's going to
Right,
make
right.
someone dizzy.
I totally do that. So I'm with you on that, babe. Well, I'm so glad to have you here this morning. We thought it would be kind of fun to chat a little bit about networking because Lily saw my video that I did a couple weeks ago on that, which, by the way, for those of you that don't know, I did that as a part of my 30-day challenge. And that video was like the first one I did on a Wednesday that I was drinking a little bit of wine and I was feeling silly. And so I had that idea during the video that maybe I should continue doing Wednesday wine. So now I'm also doing a Wednesday wine live. So I have all these live videos I've been doing lately. It's great. It's great fun. I love it.
You're doing three.
Yeah, I'm doing
My
three.
favorite number.
Yes, exactly. It goes along with the theme today. I love it. And I just want to say also welcome to Zaino in the chat box. Welcome, welcome, Zaino. Glad to have you here. Love it when people join us live. Tell us, Zaino, do you do much networking? I'd love to know if you have any tips for us while we're chatting. So Lily, tell me what it was that you loved about the video. What it was that fascinated you about networking.
So I have a love-hate relationship with networking. So anytime I see a video about how to network, I always want to, listen to it. And
Yeah.
the reason why I have a hate relationship with networking is that I had this myth that in order for you to network, you need to be super outgoing, be very extroverted, which is actually really opposite of who I am. I'm very introverted. When I go out and I'm networking with a bunch of people, I feel like it drains me by the end of the day. And I wanted to find ways. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. That's why I'm reaching out to get your help as well in how to network for your personality type. So for people who are like me, who are introverted, who feel like they're a lot more comfortable being on a one-on-one basis versus addressing an entire room, what are some suggestions you have for people like me?
I love it. I love it. Well, I have to say this is really interesting for me too, because I'm an extrovert, but I think I'm kind of on that scale that's like kind of in the middle. Like I'm close to almost being to introvert also. And so I'm somebody who really definitely gets energy from being in a room of people, but I'm also really sensitive to other people that are like kind of draining my energy. And so I've also like had that, because I actually heard a podcast once and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense that introverts sometimes have a hard time being around extroverts because extroverts are basically pulling the energy from them, right? And so that's what makes an introvert sometimes feel really drained. And I'm actually really sensitive to that. So I feel like is sort of similar to introverts in that way, even though I also get my energy from a crowd of people and being around people. If I'm at a party, I can sit for hours, you know, and I definitely love my alone time though. So anyway, I definitely know what you're saying though, because I think it also has a lot to do with sort of like your mindset when you walk into a networking room. If you're like sort of feeling like you have to put on a show and like perform, and you have to like, impress people and, get a whole bunch of clients, then it can be a lot of pressure, and it can be really draining, I think, for extroverts too. And so I think for me, one of the biggest things that's helped me a ton is to really be in a mindset that is more about like, what is my intent at this networking event? And really like think about that first and foremost. And that way you're not worried so much about, I think, about having to perform or like to give your energy to the people. Do you know what I mean? As an introvert, I think if you're looking at how you can help other people and how you can even connect with them, like especially if you do appreciate that one-on-one connection, try and do that more at the networking events. Like think of it more as a one-on-one thing, and maybe you just meet fewer people and just have a deeper connection with those few people.
About that too, there are two schools of thought. Like there are some people who believe in like a really broad range of network, just having a lot of people in the Rolodex. Actually,
Right.
maybe people who are watching don't know what a Rolodex is.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? Because
Can you imagine?
in fact, I talked about this in my video, how like nobody even like has a Rolodex anymore. Nobody really does anything with their business cards. So they take a business card and they might like put it in a file, or they might like enter it into their phone and then they throw it away, right?
Yeah.
And so like I almost say like rethink the business card, like think about other things. Like I've been using a postcard lately and I love it because it has more room to write a note on. And like if you go to a networking event, you can go, oh, you can tell them about some tip or something you think that they would appreciate, and you can put it actually, there's room on the card to write it down on.
I do like that because I don't have business cards. So every time I go to an event, they're always asking me, do you have business cards? Because same reason. I think it's such a waste of paper and money. What I would do is I would send them an email right away. I was like, give me your email, I'll give you, and then we're just going to get, but I like the postcard idea too.
Yeah. And I actually,
and it's different. It's different.
Yeah, there's a gal at the gal who runs Pregame. I talk about Pregame. It's a kind of a local entrepreneur club here in Portland. And the gal who runs at CR, her business cards are really cool because on the back it's just blank. So she has a room for like to write down notes. So and she specifically designed them that way so she could do that. It actually is not totally blank. One of the signs of her business is like brackets on either side of Pregame is the name. And so on that back side, she has the brackets with a blank space in the middle. So you can just write a note. It's really cool.
See, so many good things. Rethinking the business card could be another challenge for you, like another blog challenge.
Yeah, I love it.
If you're going to do your 30-day challenge, which you're not anymore.
Well, I'm definitely going to do more videos in 2018. So I'm going to increase my schedule. So you never know. I think I love to collect new topics in case I get inspired. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So back to what I was saying. Yes. I was actually asking you was, how do you feel about having a broad network versus a deeper network?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I've actually been kind of experimenting with that myself because I personally belong to just a couple of networking groups. And, interestingly enough, so I belong to probably, I would say 3 of them, and they're going through major transitions right now. A lot of them are like going through changes in leadership, or they're consolidating, or where they're changing the location. And so they're really going through these huge transitions. And so it's interesting because, if you rely too much on one networking group, just like I think if you rely on one, business clients, you just never know what might happen with them. Right. And so I think it's important to kind of, be broad in some sense, but I think there's also something to having like a close group of people that you can kind of count on, that you can almost that kind of know a little bit more about your business. And over time, it's almost more like a mastermind group in a way. It's not just a networking group, because you have become like close friends with some of them. Like I kind of feel like Pregame for me is that. I mean, it's not really a typical just networking event. It's also a place to go and learn, and it's just a little bit different. It's like goal setting. It's beyond just networking, but it's similar in that we can get to know each other and network with each other and refer each other business. So,
yeah, it's a balance. It's a good point that you made, because if you go too deep, then what if something happens to that network, and then now you can't rely everything on that one networking, but it's, at the same time, it's not, if you have a huge, broad range of people, maybe you don't form that kind of nice connection that
Right,
you're
because those
mentioning.
connections
Yeah.
that you make with the people that you see again and again, they build up over time and you get to know more about them. And then you can, like you said, you can follow up afterwards with a fun email, with a GIF or a video or something that you know that they're interested in. I mean, because I think that's one of the most important things you can do at a networking event is ask questions and just listen to what they say and figure out how you for value to them, right? And do that. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, then you might have something that you can connect someone you can connect them with. You might have a recommended, you know, or a video that you saw or all kinds of cool things if you're asking questions and you're listening. And you're right, like it's hard to do that by just, you know, when you first meet someone and only have like a 10-minute conversation with them. I mean, you can, it's just, it's a little bit more difficult.
Do you have any questions that you ask generally?
You know, generally, probably one of my favorite questions is just tell me what you're excited about right now. You know, what you're passionate about, like what project are you working on? Because I think a lot of us, like, we ask like the typical like business questions, like tell me about your business, which is fine, but usually it's so much like there's so much more to it just than whatever it is that they do for a living, right? They are working on something that they're excited about right now, and it's cool to find out what that is.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I always use too. And it goes further than networking. Like, what holidays is coming up? Like, holidays are coming up. And again, with my introverted nature, I start to get anxiety around the holiday times. Like, oh, not that, like, I love my family, you know,
Right.
but just put that out there. But it's draining. It's like one house after the other to the other. And one of the things I love asking is like, what are you excited about right now?
I agree. I love asking that. And I think the other thing about that too is that I think what we tend to do and what we tend to interpret, I think it's also like the expectations that we are interpreting for other people are putting on us is that people want us to tell them about all our accomplishments and our past when I really love thinking about our future. Like what is our goals? Like what are your fantasies, right? What is it that you are excited about, you are working on? It's a project that, you know, you want to tell me about, because that's a little bit more about what's going on in the moment. And not necessarily about their past.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that. Do you have any other questions?
I just kind of go from there. I usually kind of ask them from that, once they tell me about that, then I'll ask more because I'm sure they tell me something that sparks interest and then I ask more. I think that's the thing is too, going back to what I was saying earlier about setting an intent before you actually go to the networking event is thinking to yourself, what is it you want to learn, right? So actually this is interesting because I recently was talking to a coach about this, and she was talking about how you can use networking events to actually kind of almost do like a little bit of research, which I've never really thought about that before. Like if there's something specific you kind of want to know about your target audience, like think about what that is that you want to learn at the event. And then when you're talking to people, ask questions that are centered around whatever that is that you kind of want to know. So let's say that maybe you're thinking about changing a package offering in your business. Like for me, I might want to offer something specific, a different kind of copywriting package. And so for me to kind of find out if that would actually work in the market, if people would be interested, I can go on the event and say, hey, listen, have you noticed that you are experiencing this problem? So is this something you could, need help with? And how do you need help with that? And what are your difficulties with that? You know what I mean? Like you can go deep with someone on a one-on-one conversation that you kind of, can't get otherwise. Even online, really, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one. Opening with what are you excited about, and then just following your curiosity and see where you end up.
Totally agree.
I do like
I'm just going to say hi in the chat box real quick because I see Jay Rise has joined us, and there's no questions. Welcome, Jay Rise.
Let's see if we got
any questions. I love it that Jay totally recognized the Audrey Hepburn. Well, now you can see it a lot more clear. When Lily first got on, she was like, "I'm here with Audrey." I'm like, "Who are you talking about? Like, do you have a ghost with you or something?" So yeah, Lily's hanging out over at TDS, Toronto Dance Salsa, and she said that there's this little area in the back that has the Audrey Hepburn. I love it. Jay is asking, what is the topic today? We are talking about networking today, Jay. That is what we are talking about. And getting some tips for networking. And Lily was saying that she is a little bit of an introvert. And so I was wondering if we have tips for networking for introverts.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing
I'm
I have
sorry.
done, I was gonna say, the thing I've done at a networking event, which is super helpful for me, is, when besides just writing down your intent for the event, like what your goals are, is just kind of like writing down almost kind of like your fantasy for the event, like kind of just free writing, like how is it that you would like to be perceived at the event? How is it that you would like to feel at the event? How is it that you want to help people at the event? Like just kind of writing that out is super powerful. And I can tell you the couple times that I've really taken the time to do that, and it really doesn't take that much time. It takes like maybe 10 minutes. Those have been like the best events I've been to, because I just kind of had that in the back of my mind, the kinds of things that I wanted to find out and ask about, and how I wanted to present myself. And it just kind of, it like I had purpose,
Mm.
and kind of a goal, I guess, in this sort of like magical way.
Mm. And when do you do that? Do that right before going into the event, or is it while you're getting ready?
Yeah, I would say probably, I mean, when I've done in the past, it's been like an hour before I left. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. So not too far before the event. I think that can be really powerful.
nice. I find that what really works for me as an introvert is like I do a lot of these kind of like live one-on-one, live hangouts, which I can still be in person. Like I'm talking to Jen in Oregon. That's where you
Yes.
are.
Right.
You're 3 hours behind than
Yeah.
us, and we can have this conversation together. It's amazing. For me, I think the part that, yes, being in a large group of people bothers me. Like I shouldn't say bothers me. That sounds really harsh, but it
Right.
does drain. It does drain me. Actually, I wanted to bring up Susan Cain, who did a TED talk on the power of introverts. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I
It,
have not.
it's one of the best. It's like one of the best TED talks I've ever seen.
Oh,
And she talks.
wow.
I mean, it could be because I'm introverted and I
Right. And
naturally
you related with it.
gravitate
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
towards it. So this is how she describes introverts. And I've been using the same term to describe introverts as well. Introverts are people who start off with like they will start off with like 5 coins in the morning, and every time they have an interaction with someone, they give away one of their coins. And at the end of the night, they feel really spent because they have spent all their coins.
Okay.
And then an extrovert is they start off with no coins. And every time they have an interaction, they end up collecting coins. So at the end of the night, they feel amazing because they have all these coins. So I thought it was a really good way to describe introverts versus extroverts, because one of the common questions that I get is that, how are you so outgoing and you're introverted? How come you're not socially awkward?
Right.
Like being an introvert has nothing to do with being socially awkward or shy. It's your energy level and managing that. So
Yes. That's so true.
how do you feel about that?
I totally agree with that. I think there's this misconception about how introverts, like you said, are shy, or that they are, like, for example, have trouble like being on stage. Like that's
Mhm.
totally a different situation than, having something in a situation where you're having your energy drained, right?
Yeah.
And like I really love going to a coffee shop and just feeling the buzz of the energy. I don't know if you probably don't feel like that. You probably just love like hanging out and getting work done in a room all by yourself, I'm guessing, right? So yeah, I think there's this misconception. And it's funny, I was actually just having this conversation with someone recently, and they were talking about how they feel like that the extrovert introvert thing is a little overdone, that like everyone's on a scale and it kind of depends on where you are, because she was saying that she felt strongly that everyone needs alone time and everyone needs time to connect with people. And we just have different preferences on how we want to connect, but we really need that energy of other people, and we need the energy of being alone, which I kind of have to say I agree with that in a way. But I do think there is something too, in general, there's this sense of like, I really can stay up for hours if I'm at a party and I'm around other people, whereas introvert may not be the same way.
Yeah. I agree too, to a certain extent, that we all need our alone time and we all need to connect. I do connect with people a lot. I connect
Right.
with people on a regular basis. It's just on a smaller scale. It's usually on a one-on-one basis. I enjoy a lot more than being in a large room. So
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. But understanding what it is that you like what your personality is a main thing. I think I struggled a lot in my earlier 20s when I was in the business world, and I thought that I had to be a certain type of person to be successful. So for me, I will get dressed, put on my makeup, put on my suit, have my business cards, all of that stuff. That in itself takes a long time. And then go to a networking event and feel like, oh, I can't be myself. Like a lot of the things that you talked about, putting on a show, I'm here because I'm trying to get a job, all of those things just kind of wore on me. And that's when that's why I have the hate relationship with networking. Now, my love relationship with networking is like finding what works for me. Like this, I love. Like I love spending time with Jen and seeing all the comments come through in the live hangout. And that gives me energy. It gets me really excited, but I don't have to be in a large room with a lot of people for this to happen. So I found my little groove. But you know, I'm always looking for other ways to make it better all the time.
Yeah, I totally think, I think that's interesting because I think it does make me wonder, like being an extrovert, you know, like you just said, is it just part of like being in a big room even? Because I mean, you can go in with a different mindset and think to yourself, because I think part of it is just like the word networking throws us off because of all those expectations we have about it. And if we just go into it like thinking, oh, I just want to connect with a couple of people and I want to bring my energy and I want to like shine my light and show love to people, that's all well and great. And that could probably help an introvert, but at the same time, there's still a room of people that could be draining your energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think finding your way of connecting with people is awesome that you found this way, like doing all these chats. That's awesome. I love these too. I think they're great.
Fun.
Yeah. And it's funny because yesterday I was at this all-day goal setting workshop. And we did this exercise in there where we talked about how you connect with people. And so it was like this like quick spontaneous thing. Like you're basically forced as a facilitator to ask someone to tell me really quickly how you connect with people and how you create connections. And it was really interesting to see the different responses and how like some of the analytical people would talk about how they connect with people with specific actions. You know, like I ask them questions, I take them to coffee, I send an email, whereas other people are a little bit more esoteric with their answers, or maybe more imaginative, using more of their kind of thoughts and whatnot. So I thought that was really interesting. It was just really interesting to see the different like levels of responses, Yeah.
How do you connect with people?
It was funny. I was all over the board. So I was answering things like wearing red shoes. Like that sounds really silly, but I wear red shoes and people comment like, oh my God, I love your shoes, right? Or I'll, talk about some creative thing I'm working on, and so it really came down to like, well, what we had to do at the end was summarize what it is that we do primarily to connect with people. And mine really came out as creative expression. Like for me, I use creative expression in some way, whether it's red shoes or whether it's, just being silly and laughing, or, it was, to me, it was all encompassed by creative expression. So it was really interesting. So it was a really cool exercise because it forced you just to really think really quickly. Like if you were to tell me right now, how you create connections with people, what would you say?
I hug people a lot. That's cool. If you meet me physically in person, I will hug you. Because I don't believe in handshakes. I do not like handshakes for some reason.
Right. I know they're kind of awkward and weird.
A large hug.
I totally agree.
It's awkward. It's like,
It's kind of like this manly, masculine thing. That's kind of a stereotype, but it kind of feels that way. So as a woman, I don't know, like, especially as someone who used to be in radio in the business world, you would do handshakes. It just always felt weird. Like, I don't know, it felt weird.
I don't know. I never liked them.
Yeah.
And when I was in the business world, I couldn't go and like hug my vendors. They would get the wrong idea of me.
Right.
Now it works well for me because I'm a woman, it's not as threatening, right? I'm pretty disarming. If I meet someone, I hug them, it's okay. But I don't know, maybe with guys, if you just give people bear hugs, I don't know. Maybe it's the intent. I think it's if you're comfortable with it. I think that makes the difference, right? Because if you're feeling sort of awkward, then they're going to feel sort of awkward. And, they're like that friend who does the sideways hug. Do you have that friend? I have a friend like that who's always giving the sideways hug. And it's always like, you can tell she feels awkward giving the hug, but she wants to do it because she feels. Or like the A-frame hug.
Right.
Oh God. It's like, come on.
I think we need to do a whole video on that.
On hugs. Vanessa Van Edwards, who's a fellow Portland.
Yes, Portland YouTuber. Yes.
Yeah. So she has like an entire thing about hugs and what each hug means. So,
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm totally gonna have to look that up.
yeah, I don't know if it was an interview that she did or was it? It could have been an interview. I could send that over with
Yes,
Tom
please.
Bilyeu. I don't know if she has it on her YouTube channel, but she talks about all different, because she studies the science of people. So how
Yeah.
you hug someone really tells how you feel about that person. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. It's kind of like they say, like the way you sit next to somebody is an indication of how you feel about them. It's funny. I find myself like, those are like the silliest things, because I find myself looking down and going, oh my God, my feet are pointed away and I really love this person. I got to point my feet towards them. And it's just silly, right? Because I mean, I probably would just did it to be comfortable, but I'm sure there are times when that's actually true.
That is so funny. I was thinking the exact same thing. I had a live collaboration with, like in-person collaboration with someone over the weekend, and we're both sitting pointing towards each other, but in a weird 45-degree angle. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, are my feet pointing towards him or is it away from him? I don't want people to think that I don't care. Am I crossing my hands, or am I?
That's so funny. Isn't that funny? Especially like if you watch a lot of her videos too, you start paying attention to that. Like, what signals am I giving? What nonverbal cues, right?
Yeah. And at some point, I'm like, am I playing footsies with him? Well, that's not good either.
Right.
That's
Well, it depends on who it is.
no, not with him.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It was, it's interesting though. Even the way we were set up, it was so not organic. And I even said that to him. I was like, the way we're pointing right now, we will never have a casual conversation ever in life sitting like this in a 45-degree angle. And then he's like, well, it's the camera. What are you supposed to do? And the whole thing was supposed to be like raw and unfiltered.
Right.
And I was like, this is the most like awkward angle to be sitting to have a conversation. You know how like they have the angles.
Yes.
You're kind of
Yes, I
facing
do.
the camera, but at the same time you're facing each other. So you're trying to have this conversation.
Exactly what you're talking about. It's funny because I'm doing this chocolate tasting event in Portland on Thursday with my friend Cara. And so we did a collab here in my kitchen. And then we also did like a little like promotional video over at Pregame, which is where we're doing the event. And we did that. We were at this table and our chairs were like this awkward, like we're trying to look at the camera, look at each other. And it is really awkward. And I found the same thing actually in my kitchen, because you're kind of trying to talk to the camera and yet you still want to keep the connection with each other. It's kind of weird, right? And so there'd be times I'd kind of like stand back and let her kind of, when she was talking, but then that looks awkward too, because looks like I'm kind of like trying to be like off camera. So I don't know. It's like this weird thing. It's like, it's a skill. The collab thing is a skill.
I know, this is a lot easier.
Yes.
I know, you could make another video on how to set up a live collaboration that doesn't come across awkward.
Yeah. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to do a little research on that. I love it. Because I'd love to do more collabs, and things like this with you and with her have been so much fun. So,
in
and it gives us,
too.
And it's a win-win. It brings us both exposure, and it's just fun. So
that's fun. That is so fun. All right, Jen, I think we're getting close to that. Well, actually, it's 12:35.
I know.
We're 5 minutes over.
We're 5 minutes over. So I just wanted to say hi to the peeps in the chat box. I see actually Tamara Weeks joined us. Woohoo!
Tamara!
I love it. Love it. It's awesome, you guys, for being here. And I don't necessarily see any questions, so it looks like they just had a fun time chatting with each other. But for those of you who happen to watch us on the replay, if you guys have any questions or thoughts about networking, would love to hear from you. Lily and I will answer your questions and thoughts, or if you just have for us below. Love it.
Awesome. I love it. Networking.
Thank you, Lily, for being here. I appreciate it. And we'll see you again next week.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you have some chocolate or whatever it is you love.
Yes.